July 7th.
Ready whenever you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I
Oh, yeah.
And then this is
Good morning, all.
when everything starts up. Right?
Welcome
Oh,
to
yeah.
our monthly TAC meeting, part of the Strafford Regional Planning. I'm John Hodgkins, the chair. Could we introduce ourselves, please? I guess we'll start to my immediate left. Go around.
Marilyn Barton with Strafford Regional Planning Commission.
Cynthia Copeland with Strafford Regional.
Diane Hardy, the Town Market. Linda Dusenberry, DOT.
Federal Highway Administration.
Dave Sharples, Summersworth.
Ed Comeau, Brookfield.
Wally Dunham, Madbury.
Good morning, all. Thank you. Looking at the agenda, first item is, I believe, Cynthia, Staff Communications.
Yes, we're pleased to announce that Monday we're filling Dan Camara's position, and the new title of this position will be GIS and Technical Analyst. I wrote the job description, but I forgot the title. Thank you, Marilyn. And the person filling this position, his name is Chris Shiner, and he's from Massachusetts, and he went to school at Clarkson University in Potsdam, New York, and then he got his master's degree in at Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York, and he is a GIS specialist, and he's done a lot of work with data management. So we're moving, the titles changed because we're trying to do more of the database development and data collection, standardization, protocol development, and using that to move into our performance metrics. So for not just for our transportation, but our other natural resource, water, and land use work that we do. So we're really excited to have Chris Shiner joining us, and be sure, Marilyn's going to be bringing him out to the communities and various agencies so that you can get a chance to meet him. And he's had a lot of experience working with federal, state, and academic institutions. So please, when you see him, welcome him. You won't miss him. He's a redhead.
Good for me.
Next, Marilyn, please.
Okay, so on May 29th, the Planning Commission had its annual meeting luncheon, and every year we award those who achieve excellence in planning. And this year the focus was on civic engagement and volunteerism. And as I was alluding to earlier, two of our members, our TAC members, received this award, and that would be John Hotchkiss and Wally Dunham. So congratulations to them. And I also wanted to mention that next month the TAC meeting falls on Friday, July 4th. So we were wondering if you wanted to change it over to the following Friday, the 11th. Does anybody have any problems with that?
We want to make sure that we have a meeting because we think we're going to be getting TIP Amendment number 6 coming through soon. Would it be next month?
Coming through?
The process.
Yes.
Yeah. So we need to be having our meeting scheduled.
Oh, wasn't that on, looked like it was on the agenda for today.
Yeah, we're doing it. We have the amendments today.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
I
sorry.
didn't know.
Excuse me. I thought we were still
Updated.
on 5.
No, the 6th.
So we
No,
would get 7
Is
in July?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was update 6.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
So there may or may not be.
My fault. I was talking to Bill, and he thought there might be one more amendment before you close.
For the new STIP update by
Yeah.
July 11th. It should be around then, mid to end of July, the new STIP update. I don't think it would be by the 11th.
Okay. So this will be the last amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So depending on the name of the TAC meeting.
But the 11th would be the
For a date, and obviously I'll send out paperwork, I'll send out emails reminding everyone.
You'll let us
about that.
know.
Yep. Yes, I will, I promise. So, and then last, every 2 years, I send out paperwork requesting who's going to be serving on the TAC. That's per the decision of the TAC back in 2008. We used to do it yearly, and now we do it, every 2 years. So it's that time again, so those are going to be sent out today. And our 2 award-winning TAC members have volunteered again to be our chair and vice chair. I heard nothing from anyone else wanting to serve in those roles, so they're going to do that again.
If anybody wants to serve, I'm not gonna.
You do
Great
such
job.
a wonderful job. Yes, yes, they do. So they'll be serving as chair and vice chair respectively, so thank you again for that. We appreciate it. Appreciate that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next item. Couple of action items, please. First is to look at the draft of the minutes for the previous meeting on May 2nd, 2014. If there's errors or corrections, please tell us.
We have a quorum?
Yes, we
Yeah,
do.
okay.
I'll move.
Okay.
Second?
Move in second to accept the minutes as written. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Abstain.
One abstention.
Okay. Good. Actually, 2, because I wasn't here either. Next action item, amendment number 6, recommendations to the policy committee for approval. I believe Cynthia is going to talk about this, and then we'll vote on it.
Now that I know we're doing 6 and not number 5. Okay, so this is amendment number 6 to the 2013-16 Transportation Improvement Program. And as you know, at the last TAC meeting and policy meeting, we had been discussing at a public hearing at the policy meeting whether to change the consideration period for public comment and change it from 30 days to 10 to 30 days. So that was approved by the policy committee and is now part of our prospectus. However, we were able to fit a 30-day comment period in for this STIP amendment. It fit with our dates, so we are having a 30-day comment period, which is running from Wednesday, May 21st, 2014, through to the close of business on Thursday, June 19th, 2014. And the full amendment will be approved by the policy committee at their meeting. They will consider it at 9 a.m. on Friday, June 20th at 2014. So I'd like to go through, and we only had one, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay. We only have one project from one of our communities, and that's in the town of Newmarket, and it's a description change. So the existing says that there's no pages, just go alphabetically. It's in there as alphabetically, and page 14. So the existing one says elevator and sky bridge connection with historic mill building. And the proposed one says facility improvements in Main Street, Route 108 between Elm Street and Willie Court. With, so Diane, could you just give a very brief description of what is happening here?
The continuing saga of the Newmarket Sky Bridge has taken another turn, and for the third time we are being forced to scale back our project from our original vision. If you all remember, we had proposed a Sky Bridge which would connect a parking facility in downtown Newmarket with the mills that have recently been redeveloped by Eric Chinberg and all. And we worked on that project for about 3 years, and we had our consultant on board and got cost estimates in, and found that the costs were about twice the amount that we originally had envisioned and that the state had envisioned and had provided funding for us. And we went through a period where we tried to identify potential funding sources to make the project happen. We just couldn't come up with $600,000 to make the project viable. So as a result of that, we had an amendment in January to revisit our project and to look at, instead of a grandiose sky bridge, to look at more practical pedestrian safety improvements. Because the problem is still there. And if you've gone to Newmarket, you probably are aware of the activity in the downtown area, which is great. It's all part of our revitalization. But we have had some issues with jaywalkers and pedestrians haphazardly crossing the streets and causing traffic problems for the motorists, and it's a real safety issue. So the problem hasn't gone away in Newmarket. We still have a safety issue that we have to deal with. So in January of this year, we revamped and we came up with a revised program. We hired the Strafford, through the grant, Strafford Regional Planning Commission did an extensive pedestrian study project where they went out in the field and did counts, surveys of people crossing, and our consultant, Lloyd King, did an analysis of additional things that the town of Newmarket could do to deal with the safety problem. And they included a number of traffic calming type ideas, including raised sidewalks, including better signage, including a cantilever deck, and there were a number of items. We had early on in the process met with our partners at DOT, and they advised us that, you know, if you really want to do this, the way to go is to do an urban compact zone, which is a special project. I think some of the communities here in the room, Somersworth, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Dover, that they already have their Main Street in their compact zone. And what that means is that it's up to the local government to do the maintenance of those facilities. But the other part of it is there's more flexibility provided to the municipalities so they can do the kind of traffic calming activities that are really needed in a congested urban area to slow the traffic down. And so we were advised by DOT that yes, we embrace that idea and we'll help the town of Newmarket go through that process. And that was presented to us by Nancy Mayville of the Department of Transportation. So the town of Newmarket proceeded with a proposal to come up with an alternative to the bridge, including traffic calming. And we presented that to our town council. It was embraced in March of this past year. And we, as everyone else who was in that same funding round, we had to get our engineering report into DOT by February. And we said to them, basically, we can do that. However, we need buy-in from our town council. So they did give us a couple of weeks, and they said, okay, fine. And so we moved forward with that. And then we get a letter from DOT 6 weeks into the process, or, excuse me, 3 weeks afterwards, saying, you can't do urban compacts. So proposal in the time frame that's left, it's impossible. So we were faced with another situation where curveballs were thrown at us by DOT, okay, asking us to all of a sudden, how come you don't have this project under contract? And we were basically told to, as a matter of fact, we weren't told anything. We got a phone call from DOT basically saying, we're concerned about your schedule, and we're trying to go to the town council to get approval so we can move forward. And all of a sudden, this became a big uproar, and all the politicians got on the phone and started making phone calls and got the commissioner of DOT involved in the process. Quite frankly, I was appalled by the whole process. It was very, very disappointing to me as a planner who's worked on this project for 4 years to be treated that way by DOT and the whole staff. And I'm very upset about it. And I just want to make sure that our project, which has now been watered down 3 times, can go forward so we can have some substantive improvements in the town of Newmarket. Because we've worked really hard on this project. And if there's anyone in this room that has any clout that can help us, we would really appreciate it, because I'm at the end of my rope. Thank you. I'm at the end of my rope, okay? I'm so sick of all these curveballs being thrown at us, and nobody giving us any support or direction or help, and just writing nasty letters behind everyone's back and making everybody in the town look bad.
okay? And it's outrageous. There's no need for us to be treated that way by DOT. And I hope our representative from Federal Highway is listening. Thank you. Would you like me to tell you more about our project, what we are going to be able to do?
Yeah, that's my question. Yeah, what do we?
Okay, so here we are. So what we had a $1.5 million project, then it went to $200,000. Who knows what the cost will be now? But basically, it's just doing some signage, putting in what they call bulb outs to better define the pedestrian area. We're looking at possibly having stamped concrete pavers. It certainly has been watered down to basically $100,000 project. And we probably will be able to be doing some lighting improvements. And we're going to the town council. We have the town council support. And I really do hope that we can move this thing forward because we've worked really, really hard on it. Thank you.
Could you say a little bit about the number of pedestrians?
I really can't. Not today.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, the other local project that we have is in Rochester, and that's on page 16 of 23. And this is the New Hampshire 202A Walnut Street. And this one is moving the construction from fiscal year 15 to 16. And this is what we call Strafford Square here locally. I think everybody who lives in this part of the world knows that it's a very interesting intersection. And I think that the proposal going forward is to have a roundabout. So this is going to be very interesting to handle a very complex intersection with 5 different roads coming together and some historic properties. And so this is moving forward, but it's the construction has been moved into fiscal year 16. And then we have some statewide projects. And if you look on page 18, the first one listed here is maintenance and upgrades to rest areas. The second one is on page 19. That's statewide highway safety improvement program, and I will go into more detail about that one. And these are changes to preliminary design and right-of-way and construction as well. But there's more details that I will give. And then the final area is on page 20, and it's municipal-owned bridge rehab and replacement projects. And these also have shifts in preliminary design, right-of-way, and construction. So what DOT is doing now, which I really appreciate, Linda, is this separate handout that we have that gives the details. So I'm going to go over the statewide projects, and we can see on this which of the projects are going to be in our region. So on the one that was looking on municipally owned bridges, the first one on the list is in Dover, and that's the Whittier Street Bridge replacement over the Cocheco, and that's listed for fiscal year 16. And at the bottom of the page is Somersworth, Berwick. I think that one is in process, and that's the rehab Route 9 bridge over the Salmon Falls River, and that's well underway, and Maine is the lead on that project. If you turn the page, these are programs in the highway safety improvement. So if you look in Barrington, there's 2 projects. There's an intersection improvement. I'm sorry that I can't tell you where that one is. I think is that the one at 9 and 202? Or is that further on? One of them is the 9202. And then the next one is widen New Hampshire 125 to convert a northbound exclusive right turn lane to auxiliary through the lane. Okay, and then on the next page In District 3, which is our northern community, there's replacement of substandard cable guardrail in various towns. And then in Farmington, to install two-way left turn lanes to improve safety. And in Lee, there's intersection improvement projects through highway safety. And if you turn the page, continuing in District 6 in Northwood, there's US 4, New Hampshire 152 intersection safety improvements. And in Rochester, reconstruction of 2 existing curves and potential future construction project. And then statewide are the safety audits. And then the rest of these that I've highlighted are sort of within the district. So that gives you a really good idea of which of the projects from the statewide are moving forward in our region. And so I really appreciate that DOT is giving us this detail now about the statewide, so that we have an idea how this funding is being used in our region. And so if there are any questions, yes?
Yeah, I have one. Just, this is, when you look at the statewide, you're referring on page, I mean, which, well, in the detail, it decreases a little bit, but then it tells these. Is any of the funding changing in the ones in our region? You see what I'm saying? I mean,
in Newmarket. The one in Newmarket changes.
Okay, so like the bridge over the Salmon Falls River, you know, it doesn't say what's existing, proposed, you know, like that. It doesn't break it down by project in the detail. So I'm just wondering what is changing, which one, you know, not just the project in Somersworth, but any projects in our region. Are they getting decreased? Are they getting increased? Are they staying the same? You see what I'm saying?
This would be showing what is right now in the projects. So, you know, the project managers have it set up like this right now, so nothing would be changing in these.
Okay.
I believe this is what is being pulled from our database at this moment.
Okay, because didn't you just, I can't find it now, wasn't it? Like statewide on page 20 of 23, are you saying those statewide projects are actually, you know, they just say statewide and they don't, you know, municipal bridge replacement projects in total, right? And then the back page kind of breaks all the individual municipal bridge projects out.
Yes.
And this is decreasing by about $3 million.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, where was it coming from? Is it, you know, where is that $3 million reduction coming from in the individual projects?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just,
I have to defer to the state because it's a
you see what I'm saying?
Which
Maybe
projects,
I'm not getting this.
No, I
correctly.
understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You want to know what the exact projects are that are changing. Correct.
I mean, I don't know if I want to know. I'm curious to see in our region, what, you know,
Okay.
which projects in our region, if any, are being decreased or increased or.
Well, I couldn't tell you unless I looked at the database, so I could look it up and send you an email if you like.
Okay. I guess they're all going, they're all
I can
happening,
ask the-
and maybe just because the bids came in, that's why they, you know,
It looks to me that
funding, I just want to make sure that funding is going to, you know, the funding needed for our region is staying in there.
it looks like the Dover is staying the same. And it looks like Somersworth, the rehab, which is in process right now, that amount is staying the same, which would be New Hampshire's share of the project, correct? Because Maine is also putting money.
Yeah, New Hampshire with the feds, with the federal, is that the federal share too? That includes like 690,000, you're saying?
Yeah. I can get you the
Okay,
detail. I
yeah.
don't.
Yeah, I didn't do
'Cause it's that's a
this
$3 million.
report. Sorry about
Right.
that, and I can't tell you the exact.
3 million total with the preliminary design and the right-of-way. So this is the construction.
Maybe. Oh, this is construction.
This
Okay.
says,
All right. Just trying to make sense of
I
it, that's all.
can't read here, it doesn't have, we'll get you that information. So sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't do this report, and I should have looked into it.
All right,
Detail.
Linda and I will get you whether
Okay.
there's been any change in the amount of money for the bridge, as well as for the.
And yeah, it was more just, you know, not just our project, any of the region project, I just want to see, you know, that $3 million reduction, you know.
No, that's what we'll be doing as part of the update of the TED. Not having Dan or Mark here, I'm holding off until we get closer to approval, so.
So we're not looking for action on this
No, it's
today?
a recommendation to the policy committee, and I think what I'm hearing you say is that you would like to know more information about whether these individual projects are increasing or decreasing.
Yeah.
And the statewide ones are ones that are under the control of the districts.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I just want to make sure, you know,
Yep.
that what is needed for our projects in our region is secured. I mean, you know,
Yes.
I understand when bids come in, they come in lower, so you can change it and decrease the amount, but the
Yes.
project's still getting done, and it's still going to be 100% funded. So I just want to make sure that we've maintained all the funding that's needed to do all our projects.
Yes, okay. And we will make that clear to the policy committee. Thank you very much. It's an important question.
And since this is the first time we've sent this report out, that would be a good thing, you know, we could add which projects are changing.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen one of these, and I think it's a great step forward. But now it's further refinements, and your
Right.
question helps with that.
Exactly.
With his comments in mind, do you still wish to take a vote today, or do you wish to wait until we have more information?
Well, it's already on the policy committee
So you need a vote today?
to recommend,
Right.
yeah.
So I'm looking for a motion to recommend that the policy committee approve amendment number 6.
So moved.
Okay?
Second?
Second? Okay. Any further discussion?
I do.
Yes.
I got another question. About the New Market project, which, you know, fine, supportive of. I just had a question, because I know how DOT, and when you program preliminary right-of-way and construction, and once it's set programmed, trying to change that around is extremely difficult, like to try to move money from right-of-way to construction once they have it programmed. And I saw that the programming, none of the 3 categories changed, so I just want to make sure. Do you not understand what I'm saying? Like, is that consistent what you need in preliminary engineering, right-of-way, and construction?
When I talked to the project manager, he said those are staying the same, the only thing
Okay.
that's changing is the description.
Yeah, because like 30,000 preliminary, when you change the scope of a thing, you know, you're doing A, now you're doing B, well, you
Right.
could need more right-of-way and less construction, or, you know,
All the
vice
work-
versa, those can move around. So once they're set,
There's no
they're
work
difficult to change.
outside of the public right of way.
Okay, I'm
There's
just,
not gonna be any
yeah,
acquisition.
that would just be a question I had if I was in Newmarket, because, you know, once those PRCs, you know, amounts are set, I mean, they can be changed, but, you know, you don't want to have to change them if you don't have to.
When they modified the scope, they probably were considering what funds were available in that phase.
Yeah, that's,
Probably
okay.
part of how it was rescoped.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that they considered that. If they didn't, they might be, because there's milestones with DOT right now for the sunsetting, and you really need to start meeting those, so. But, yeah, I'm in favor of the project. I just questioned that, you know, maybe all the PR and RC columns were consistent.
Okay, so
Here and
that's,
there.
we're talking $38,000 for preliminary,
Yeah. 10 grand right away.
and I don't think there'll be any right of way. And the construction is what it is. I would like to have the right-of-way money in there in case we run into an easement issue.
Yeah, I understand that. I just wondered if they did that, you know, and looked at that, because it stayed exactly the same, but the project scope changed. Usually maybe those numbers will fluctuate. All right.
Thank you.
So moved with, someone already moved, but.
We'll add that comment as well.
Any further discussion? All in favor of recommending to the policy committee approval of amendment number 6? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you all helping me through this process. Because I'm I've done it several years ago, but the process has changed in the interim period since I last did one of these. So Linda will probably be giving you a call and we can work our way through it. And
Yes, well, I think that's a good idea about the individual projects, to get into detail on those changes.
And Chris is coming on Monday.
Not so loud.
Yes.
All right, item number 4. Cynthia, do you have anything for discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to let people know that this Monday, on June 2nd, Federal Highways released in the Federal Register, and I have copies here. So it's the proposed rule for statewide and non-metropolitan transportation planning, the Metropolitan Transportation Planning. So this has been underway for quite a while, and I'll pass this around, and this is double-sided, and those are the rules. And then I have, behind that, I have ASHTO, Smpo, so those are the State Association of Transportation Organizations, and then the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations. ASHTO put together a comparison of the current 23 CFR Part 450 versus the new text that's out for review. And so you can see that, and it's redlined, and so that is available, and I'd be glad to share that with anyone who's interested in seeing the comparison. I haven't had a chance to go through it yet. And then in the front, I have AMPO sent out, it's a letter, it's a leadership letter that came out from Speaker Boehner and Leader Cantor, and to the House Republicans, and it's about the highway funding. And so it talks about, from their perspective, how they see the Highway Trust Fund. Why is it running out of money? Does it require a general fund transfer? So their views on what's happening with this. And this also was just to help you understand the different perspectives that are out there on this process as we move forward. So I will pass this around, and Marilyn today will be sending out the links for the Federal Register site, and anybody who's interested in, you can copy it there, or if you want us to copy it for you, we'd be glad to do that. And I'm also working with AMPO on the highway, Surface Highway Reauthorization Act. There's a House version and a Senate version right now. There's the administrative version. I'm not sure if there is a House version. Yeah. And then there's the Senate version, and then the Grow America is the Obama administration take on the surface reauthorization. So that's all in process, and we're also at AMPO working on review of other aspects of the rulemaking that are coming out of MAP 21. So, and then there's all of the Highway Trust Fund. So if you have anything to add on, there's a lot going on right now.
There's a lot going on. The immediate issue is the Highway Trust Fund and plugging the gap for the next fiscal year, which people are working on in Congress. There's a proposal to, for example, to limit or to eliminate Saturday mail delivery, and maybe the savings from that can be used. Congresswoman Custer, I think, has a proposal to eliminate some other programs, subsidies, to try to plug that gap. It's about a $5 billion gap, I think, for coming up immediately. So there's kind of the short-term crisis and what to do about that, and there's the reauthorization and what's going to happen. Like you mentioned, several different proposals out there, different funding levels in those proposals and different ways to come up with the funding. So we'll see what comes out of that. But in the meantime, the current authorization expires at the end of September, so it's looking like it'll be another one of those situations where we just do some extensions before we get a full multi-year reauthorization. We'll see what that looks like. I sent all the RPCs and MPOs some information about a webinar coming up on Friday the 13th. It's going to talk about the rulemaking. So hopefully you have time to sit in on that. It should be worthwhile. Some summary information on what's in that rulemaking. And the comment period is a 90-day comment period on the rulemaking. So it ends September 2nd. So if you're going to submit any comments on the rulemaking, it has to be in by that date.
So I will try to bring that back sometime this summer. Any issues that AMPO or people within our region have with it, so that we can have discussion on it. But it just opened this week. And that's why it wasn't listed as a discussion item. That's all I have. Mr.
Anyone else
Chair.
have items for discussion?
I'll actually make a comment. How much money was actually needs to be filled? What's the whole?
For the Highway Trust Fund? Yeah, I'm not sure. The proposals that I've looked at are looking at around $5 billion, more or less. So I'm assuming that's about what the need is from what I've seen. But I'm not sure what the total is exactly.
Wasn't the Obama administration's proposal $300 billion?
That's the reauthorization proposal.
That's the whole.
Yeah, that's what happened. At the end of September, the current Authorization Act, MAP 21, expires. So there are different proposals out there from Congress, from the administration. Yes, the administration's proposal, I believe, is a 4-year reauthorization around $300 billion. The ones, I think one of the ones coming out of Congress is more time. I think it's a 5 or 6 year reauthorization, but it's less money. So there has to be that negotiation, figuring out what's going to come and eventually come out of Congress and be signed by the president. But in the meantime, the current authorization is expiring at the end of September, so that's why we have to do something more immediately to extend it. And then the other issue that's more short-term is the Highway Trust Fund basically running out of money for the next federal fiscal year, and how to plug that gap. And that's where these proposals, where I've seen roughly $5 billion or so being discussed, where that money is going to come from to fill the gap for the next fiscal year. But in the meantime, even before the end of the fiscal year, I think we're looking at the potential that funding might not be available. Some of these, actually, I think some of the proposals to plug that gap are looking before the end of the fiscal year. So we're looking at a situation where money could be running out July, August. And we've informed the state DOT, and DOT is taking some steps to ensure that they can use all the money that's available, and then maybe deferring some advertising projects as a result of a potential gap and a potential limitation of funding that can be obligated for projects. So there's sort of short-term issues, and then there's longer-term issues that are both under discussion right now. I'm not sure what's going to come out.
So I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So is this future advertising, or is this advertising that's already occurred?
It'll be future advertising.
Yeah, I think it'd be delayed.
Advertising that.
So anything that's advertised now is going forward?
That would be my current assumption, yes. But yes, they're looking at delaying about $25 million worth of advertising, I think. Depending on what happens out of Congress and whether money will be made available sooner versus later.
So we may be having more amendments coming through.
Yeah, that could be the
We
impact.
could be
yeah.
really busy.
Yes.
What do you mean by advertising? Are you talking about literal advertising?
Putting a project out to bid.
Cost how much?
No,
No,
that's,
no,
Oh.
Putting the project out to bid.
Okay.
yeah, they're deferring, they're talking about potentially deferring some advertising of the projects because of what may be a shortfall in federal funds as early as, before the end of this federal fiscal year, as early as July, August. And the total amount of advertising that might be deferred, what I've heard is, I don't know more about that, but I've heard around 25 million or so. So it's,
So we're going to be getting money, so we can keep our advertising schedule.
So is what you're saying, like if you have a TE project, you can advertise by July, do it? Is that what you're saying?
it might be prudent to,
Okay. Gotcha.
do it
Yeah.
now versus later.
Okay.
What happens then with all these TE projects have these really strict deadlines of when they have to be spent by?
Well, I think that's, we're aware of that, so. I don't know how many TE projects are.
One there and one there.
Oh.
Well, we're just waiting on DOT, and we're waiting on it for a little while now.
I don't know, maybe Linda does, I don't know if any of what they might defer, that $25 million worth of advertising, whether any of that would include any of the TE projects or not.
You never
Maybe
know.
not.
No.
Yeah, because most of those are from 2009,
Right.
the last time we had TE.
Well, I don't know when does the New Market project, when does that advertising?
For bids,
That, it looks like 2015 is the construction, so.
And you're hoping this year,
I'm hoping to advertise in July.
in July.
July.
Maybe June.
Well, I think the department.
Maybe June, well, we can't, we're waiting on DOT, so.
I think the department kind of wants to get all these projects kind of off the books, the old money, TE money, we don't have a TE program anymore. And, 21, so I would suspect that those projects are going to go
You're right.
close out that account.
What is your project? Do you know the number by any chance? No.
Yes.
How
Oh, no, it's not in here. 6049, something like that. 6049? That might be it. But I'm not sure.
Well, if I was Mark, I'd be sitting here with a computer and you'd pull it up on the screen.
I know, I can do it on my
Project.
phone, but you can't, there's no wireless in here.
No,
It's in
There's
a
wireless.
Yeah,
bunker.
there's wireless.
There's wireless.
There's no public access.
There's no public access.
Oh,
So my just phone
yeah,
just keeps
we
searching.
have access.
yeah, we have that.
Oh.
Sorry.
This is a
Well, you're gonna have to give me your
community center.
password.
Yeah, I was
so I
gonna say, I'll
can,
take the
so
password.
it'll automatically connect into you when I come in here. That'd be good.
Well, I'll email you about the Mo Bridges and then you can.
Okay,
And
yeah.
I'll see.
I think it's 16049.
Yes.
Thank you, Linda.
I had a question about the New Market project.
Yes.
Who did the original estimate, and aren't they responsible for anything that they didn't do correctly? Meaning, why was the project so off on the estimate?
It was an estimate that was prepared by Kimber Builders, and they're a private firm, and they're used to picking up the phone, calling a contractor. We want to do XYZ project, could you come down and do it for us, sign a contract, and it gets done in a reasonable amount of time. And I think part of it was that there wasn't consideration given to all the federal requirements, having a full-time resident engineer. And plus, it's a different, this is not a typical transportation enhancement project. This was a bridge. And there's a lot of unknowns in terms of, what are the site conditions. There was ledge in the area. So there were, calculations that were, it was just, the estimate was not an accurate estimate. But, okay, so we worked really hard to scale back the project to meet the requirements. We went through like 3 or 4 iterations of a plan, and every time we bring a plan forward, there was a problem with it. We didn't get the support of DOT. So we had to go back to the drawing board again. And that happened, you know, in one instance in particular. So, I mean, it was like we've been spinning our wheels for the last 3 years. And it's almost as though they really don't want the project to go forward, period. And I feel like there's other projects that maybe they view as more important in the state, and they're looking to recommit that money to another project. And I feel that it's been an ongoing thing from the very beginning. And it's unfortunate that it's that way, but I really feel like our project had a little black mark on it. We're doing everything we can to get that money back away from Newmarket so we can allocate it to somebody else. I could be wrong, but that's after observing this process for 4 years, that's my observation and that's my conclusion.
Good.
And it's very unfortunate because we went forward in good faith with this project, and you know, the people who were involved with it deserve a little bit more respect than that.
Good.
Who made the decision to hire that particular firm to do the estimate?
The town did.
The town did. So the selectmen, you have selectmen. It's
Well,
not a town council.
we had a steering committee.
Well, I think he's talking about Chinburn.
Oh, but that was way before we even applied for the money that was provided. I mean,
Because
before we.
he was doing redevelopment, which wasn't through the town. It was
Right.
through the NCDC, which was
Right.
a nonprofit.
Right. But, you know, once the bids came in higher, there was no support to let's work with you to make this project happen. It was more, okay, well, yeah, you got to come up with, you know, $600,000. The till is dry. We don't have any money to help with this. You know, it's just frustrating every step of the way. I felt like, you know, roadblocks were thrown out so that our project would succeed.
Back from over to the idea of federal government might be running out of money, and I heard $300 billion. I'm reminded of a meeting that teachers had with a principal getting towards the end of the school year. The principal says, "Look, you teachers, I have given you an unlimited supply of paper for that copy machine, and you've exceeded it." Unlimited supply, exceeded it. So maybe that's where it might actually run out of money before the end of the fiscal year.
There's some possibility.
All right, anything else for discussion? How about project updates?
Yeah, I have
Please.
2 items. So the first one is, you remember that Mark was part of a group with Southwest and Central Regional Planning Commissions working on a park and ride toolkit, and that project has been completed, except for actually working with a community to go through the toolkit chapter by chapter and go through the process and just see, does it work, does it need refining, how could we make it a better product. So the project, we were supposed to be done at the end of this fiscal year, June 30th, and we haven't started it. It was one of Mark's projects, and so he was going to be doing it the second half of this year, and that didn't occur. So I asked for an extension with Bill Watson, and we discussed on the phone just giving ourselves another year because we're completely retraining 2 new staff for all of our UPWP functions. So we're going to be retraining and regearing for over the next year as we start into the 2-year cycle all over again. So we're going to have through to the end of June 30th, 2015. So at some point in time, we need a volunteer community to work with us on looking at the possibility of having a park and ride in their community. Is there a need? What kind of facility? Where could we locate it? How would it be financed and maintained? And so think about that, and we'll bring it back up. And who's ever interested, please let us know. So there was that. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about was our interns. Our interns started 2 weeks ago. They're in their second week of work. We started them a week late, mainly because of the weather. The weather has continued to not be the best for field conditions. And so today they're out getting their training with New Hampshire Geologic Survey for the culvert assessments. Earlier this week they had training with T-Squared at UNH for the SAIDS, the Statewide Asset Database Systems. Got it. And so they will have completed all of their training. They've been working on building permits. They've been working on gathering additional information. And yesterday, Dave Sharpos was so kind to ask us to do some trail mapping in Somersworth. So we got rained out of one of them, and one of them was flooded, and a part of it was flooded. So they could only do a part of it. So we're looking for more communities who would like to have trails mapped in their community. So we're using this for Mondays when it's raining and it's too wet and we can't do the traffic counts. So that takes a whole, if it's pouring down rain on Monday or thunderstorms, we can't set out the traffic counts. That just, the whole week's gone. So then that means Monday we have to fill half day on Wednesday when we check the counts, and a third of a day on Friday when we pull all the traffic counters up. So we're looking for communities that have intern level data collection work, that particularly in trails and additional work like that, where you'd like to have some input, walkability, etc. So if anyone is interested, please let us know right away so that we can, it looks like we might be having a wet summer, and so we need to develop alternate workload that we can do. You can pretty much walk a trail when it's raining, but you can't do a lot of the other work in the culverts and the traffic counting when it's raining. And work in office too. We've got some other work we're going to do to support the Scenic Byway Corridor Management Plan. You know, call us up if you have an idea and let us know, and we'll be glad to come out. You know, make a list, and when we get one of these days where we can't do our regular, or we've caught up on our work, that they can come out, and we have maps and we know the locations, and they can get out there and do those. So we want to stay productive. Yes?
I have a, I don't know if it fits, but street light inventory?
Yeah, great. You know, I remember at one time we were out doing something in the early 2000s, and we were out doing something else, and we were doing manhole covers. And we also at the same time picked up all the fire hydrants. So we thought while we were out there, we might as well get the fire hydrants. And a lot of the communities at that time didn't have either one of those, so we were doing it for stormwater management.
I have a question about interns for the culverts.
Yes.
Have they come across any snakes yet? And if so, are they still working for us?
The snakes or the interns?
Kyle has a picture at the Madbury and the Bellamy Reservoir. Is that what you call it, Wally? Do you call it the reservoir?
Yeah.
He's got a picture of a snake eating a frog. But so far we haven't heard about snakes, but you haven't heard any snakes.
Actually, there's a picture in our annual report, Zachary, when he was out in the culvert, and he's got a snake in his hand, so he came back for 2 seasons.
So, Andrew...
Not a third.
Yeah, so this year we have Andrew Carr, who is the younger brother of Zach Carr, who was here for 2 seasons. And then we have Brian Jones, who's a new grad of Keene State, and then Sam Weisbo, who's a junior at Roger Williams. So we have a family tradition right now.
All right, thank you. Any other updates on projects in our area? Yes.
Yeah, Summersworth Tea project, we submitted for cultural resource review back in April. We attended the cultural resources meeting on May 11th at DOT. We're still, anxiously awaiting their decision on the categorical exclusion. And as soon as we get that, because they cannot give us a notice to proceed to final design until cultural resources says it's okay. We've been waiting, pushing a month now, waiting on that decision. As soon as we get that, we're hopeful to get it this week. Well, this week's Friday, but by next week we can get to a point where get out to bid in July, because that's what we'd like to do. We have a downtown project going on right now, and they're going to be starting completing sections. As soon as they complete sections, they leave. The TE project we wanted them to come in right after and do the streetscaping from the curb into the, to the right-of-way line. And I don't want any lag where it just sits kind of uncompleted. So we'd really like to get that going, and we're hopeful that we can get out advertised in July. And, but we're just waiting on that categorical exclusion decision. So, and the bridge project is on schedule, on task, on budget. So everything looks good for the bridge replacement. That's it.
Yes.
Just looking for an update on the Newmarket Runaway to Durham Bike Lane project.
Oh yes, that went out to bid. It's out to bid. It's advertised.
27th of May it went out to bid.
Yeah.
Was that?
The 27th of May it went out to bid.
When are they looking at starting? You don't know. I was just trying to remember whether it was April of. I was once told, I thought it was April of 14, but it could have been April of 15.
The second
But that was
phase
like a
is
couple of
April
years
of
ago.
15. The second phase is April of 15.
Okay.
They're doing it in phases. And there were delays because of the concerns about the impact on Durham Book drainage calculations. I think they've resolved that.
Durham what? What did you say?
The Durham Boat Company
Oh.
had some concerns about the state elevating the road and how it would affect their property and the
Sure.
potential for flooding. And there was some analysis done to identify that it would not get worse. If anything, it would be an enhancement.
Is
Yes.
the park and ride in Rochester by Lowe's, is that completed, open for use? Or they still have a little bit more work? I see it's all paved, striped, but I don't see any signage or anything.
I will check on that. And we've also put an inquiry in about the park and ride in Lee, where the process is on that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And your interest on the New Hampshire Route 108, I did talk to the project manager. My question was in relationship to why did the price go up, and so we had a response to that. It was about increased number of stormwater
I'm just
aspects.
looking for the impact on the
Yes,
buses.
yes,
when
to
it
address the
starts.
concerns. So you're concerned about your bus schedule? The construction and the...
Just so that we're aware that it's
Okay.
starting and
Okay,
that we will be dealing with that.
okay, all right, I will get that also.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other projects? How about just other business to conduct? I have one item, yes.
Oh, I
go
just
ahead.
had a question about that. Cultural resource review, what did you call it again? A category?
Categorical exclusion, it's the NEPA process. And there's a couple of different things that, could trigger an environmental impact statement, if you meet, but this thing called, you can apply for a categorical exclusion saying it's minimal, no impact, but all the different agencies, cultural resources, DHR has to sign off it and say, okay. And then you qualify for a categorical exclusion and you don't have to do an environmental impact statement. And subsequent further environmental review.
So a group meets and they look it over and they...
Correct. Yeah. When you submit your application, you have to submit for the National Heritage Bureau, and DHR, SHPO looks at it, and you go to these, these meetings, the cultural resource meetings, and they look at it, and they look at the project, and they review it in the sense of, like historical context and what have you, to make sure it meets, it's what Section 106 of the Federal Register, for historic preservation and so forth. So it meets all their guidelines, and they make recommendations. And we ended up having to write a memo about what the area looked like prior, during the industrial age, and we did that and submitted that.
Somebody in our Bureau of Environment should recognize it.
Yeah, I called CR last week, and he said it kind of
CR.
sorry, it sat on somebody's desk for a couple of weeks or something. So they're back on it.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you could check too, all the help we can get, because we're kind of up against it here, to follow, we'd like to follow right behind, so we don't have,
Right.
but we don't know.
Yeah, that's the,
Yeah.
And that's really important. I know in Newmarket they timed it really well so that all of that happened.
Yeah.
And it really makes a difference for the businesses and the residents.
And the bid.
Yep.
I mean,
and the bid.
when we got probably going to get a good bid from the the crew that's out there. They separate, they'll send different crews, but economies of scale, mobilization, and so forth. I would be shocked if we didn't get a really good number.
And Severino did Newmarket, and Severino's working on
doing it,
Summer's
yes.
work right now.
Good.
And these are all appointed people on these committees that look at this information?
Appointed, yes.
Appointed.
They're employees of DHR, of DOT.
Now, what happens if they say no? That you don't get it?
Well, you don't get the categorical exclusion, and you go to the second level, which I think is a level 1 EIS.
EA, I think.
An EA, environmental assessment, then that could be an EIS. Yeah, it's like a process.
So does this save money for you, or does it add
A
cost?
categorical exclusion
Yes,
saves money
it saves.
because it avoids further environmental review.
And a project like that, this is your T
Yeah.
project, trail or sidewalk?
It's just sidewalk over
Sidewalk.
existing sidewalk.
Yeah, typically projects that don't involve additional right-of-way, stay within you're not disturbing a lot of new areas, so chances are you're not going to impact any resources that are out there, environmental, cultural resources. But sometimes with a project like that, I don't know if you did an archaeological survey, sometimes that committee will say, well, we're not sure what's out there. Do this survey so you can find out if there is anything out there that you might have an interest in.
Yeah,
I don't know if they did.
I think National Heritage, that was the National Heritage Bureau thing. I think their comments were pretty benign, but they maybe left it open just like this. So in case you're out there digging and you find something or something like that, right? But they didn't require any survey.
That's good because those can be expensive.
Yeah.
Costs.
I'd like to take a moment to thank Cynthia for coming and sitting with us today. Your responsibilities are way up here, the whole Strafford Regional Planning Commission. I know we're shorthanded, and you're doing your level best to fill in and keep this meeting going, as opposed to simply saying, oh, we'll cancel till next month, and someone's on board. So thank you for coming and spending time with us.
My pleasure.
It's certainly a challenge to fill in after someone's left and trying to get someone else on board. So. All right, Ed.
I did have a question for Cynthia. When we hire somebody, do we get any guarantee or agreement with them that they're going to stay a certain amount of time, or is this becoming a perpetual training for people where they stay long enough to get some experience and then go?
No, it's an at-will. So Marilyn, if you could.
Yeah, this is an at-will state, which means they can leave at any time for any reason. So we can't require them to stay for a certain
Oh, I didn't know that. You couldn't have a contract that says, if we're going to train you, then you have to stay so many years?
I know in town government, we were also at will. That's two-sided.
Yes.
They can leave when they want. We can have them leave when we want.
That's correct.
with very little fanfare, meetings, because it's that well. Thank you for your services. Goodbye. Madbury's the same way, probably. Yeah. All right. Anything else for other business?
I'd just like to remind people that today is the 70th anniversary of D-Day, and there's been some really remarkable events on TV, and live from Normandy, and my father is a World War II vet, and he went on the honor flight in April down to DC, and my sister went with him, and they had an incredible time. And so if you have a chance to honor the World War II vets in your family or your friends, please do. These honor flights are pretty incredible. My dad and my sister had an amazing time, and she then looked up where my dad went, and he was a tail gunner in a B-17, and he did 38 flights. And the really amazing part is my dad never really talked about it, but in the last couple of years he's been starting to talk about it. And one of the things that is so remarkable, you think about a tail gunner and 38 missions, and what I learned just a couple of months ago on his 91st birthday is he was very happy that he never had to fire his gun, so that meant he didn't have to clean it.
Wow.
So if you think about that and what those flights were like, and how they were flying, and it's just remarkable. So if you have someone in your family, you know, it's really good to hear those first-hand stories, and there's getting fewer and fewer, so treasure it. It's very important.
Well, I'm just saying, 38 missions, never fired a tail gun. It's pretty amazing.
Yes.
Indeed blessed.
Yes.
All right, last item before adjournment is citizens' forum. Does anyone wish to just discuss any of these items that are not really part of the committee, but would like, I think we're all part of the committee. So, peaceful. You all set? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. You'll be notified about whether we have a meeting in July. If we do, it'll be July 11th. Okay. Thank you.